my last name's Connor, and of course it took a Connor to fight the evil Terminator and Cyberdyne, so maybe I was born a little suspicious of the machine. I don't know.
Eric, what are your thoughts on writers using AI to generate story ideas?
All right, writers using AI. Well, the joke of it right now, of course, is maybe I'm not saying any of this, right? Maybe you guys later on are like, well, Eric could have been a little more interesting. We'll use some AI to get him to say what we want him to say. You know, the recent writer's strike dealt with AI and this idea of like, okay, well, AI is a tool. It's not a solution for everything. And tools, though AI gets real close, they can't do it themselves. Like you might have great tools, but you need to have someone who wields those tools. Thor's hammer needs Thor, right? Or Captain America, of course. So I think AI can be utilized if it is run by a creative. Like if there's a creative working with AI, then it can work, but it also, what AI does, that's the complicated part of it, is anything you put in there, it takes. And so thus, it's like, well, writers are always worried about their own ideas, you know? And I don't think people in Hollywood want to be known as copycats. It's a terrible reputation to have. People accusing anyone of stealing. Like, people don't want that reputation. It can follow you for a long time. So I think more times than not, you're pretty safe in Hollywood, provided you do what you need to do to protect yourself. The AI doesn't have that moral scale. AI will just take and take and take. And so what you're doing then is like you're giving away your ideas if you use AI to flesh it out. Like if you put in AI, I have an idea for a movie, a rom-com about a ghost and another ghost, but neither of them realize the other one is a ghost. Not a bad idea. No, but if you put that in AI, now AI has got that idea. And so guess what? AI is going to use it everywhere. And so I think it's such a slippery slope. There's, again, a reason why they got a lot of work to do to figure it out. And I think like new technology is the reason oftentimes there's these impasses and why sometimes a writer's strike happens. Because it happened with like digital distribution. It was a new form of technology. What does this mean for the big picture? AI is maybe the most unusual of them all, at least in my lifetime. Because now it's like, okay, well, AI can do the work that other people did. One of the Marvel shows came under a little bit of attack because they used AI for their opening titles. But once again, I feel like if you have graphic designers working with AI, if you have creatives working with this tool, it can maybe enhance, but it means also like it still would have the vision of a human behind it. So that's always the hope with AI. And I know for writing students, we're like, don't let AI do your homework. Like the whole point is you're supposed to be the idea machines, not the machine. So if you just have AI write your stuff, there are ways of testing it, of course, but a lot of AI doesn't have yet that real human touch. Like it feels a little bit like plastic, right, as opposed to organic material. So it's so complicated, and it's one of those, I don't have that answer. You know, none of us do yet. And I'm curious in 5 years, 10 years, what this all is gonna look like. But I do think if writers almost more use it as a tool for research, it can help. Like if you go into ChatGPT and you want to learn about the fall of the Roman Empire, it can help you there. But then now write me a screenplay about the fall of the Roman Empire. Well, it could do it, but it's gonna probably not read very well, you know. And I think we've seen that time and again where the AI's limitations. I mean, even AI Photoshop kind of work, where everyone's got like 7 fingers. It's like, because it's not human. And it doesn't have also that human POV, again, yet. But my last name's Connor, and of course it took a Connor to fight the evil Terminator and Cyberdyne, so maybe I was born a little suspicious of the machine. I don't know.
How do some of your students feel about AI, whether they use it for story generation or image generation?
In my classes, it feels like they haven't necessarily gone there yet. And I think part of it is because of what I'm teaching or what I've been teaching since AI really kicked in. So for thesis class, for instance, like they might have an idea, but then they're always going to be working with feedback they get from the humans in class. So even using AI, it feels like, well, they're getting so much feedback, so many suggestions from breathing, living humans. Hopefully reduces the need for them to feel compelled to use AI. And like pretty much every Institute of Higher Learning, we have rules about using AI. Where I think it can actually be a really nice, valuable tool is if you're putting together like a pitch deck. So you have an idea for a feature screenplay or a TV pilot, and you're trying to find images and you're running a little bit low on what you can find out there or what you can create. So this is where AI sometimes can be helpful, is like if you're pitching something, doesn't mean you would do it for the film itself, the TV show itself, I hope. But in terms of helping people see what you see, that might be where you could go with it. But again, you run that risk of like, well, you've just shared your idea. You know, it goes back to like Napster with music, you know, the fear like Metallica had. It's like all of a sudden, oh, great, now no one's going to buy our music. Well, they've done okay since. I'm not too worried about them. But I think that's always the downside. And I think students are very aware of it. You know, the internet wasn't around when I was a kid, but the internet was around for most of them when they were young. Even our oldest students, you know, had access to these things. And so I think they've always understood the sort of balance. I think they understand there are limitations to what AI can give you. You know, it might throw things at you, but it's kind of like throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. That's sometimes what AI might give you. And I think also too, and maybe it's optimism, maybe it's doe-eyed optimism, but I hope my students, our students at this school, I hope writers like are pushing themselves because, you know, that's why we do it, right? Is to create. And so, you know, yeah, it's great to get a strike when the bumpers are up on the bowling alley, but wow, when you're able to get a strike without them, it feels so much better. And so for the writers to really push themselves, creatives to really push themselves. So it might be a tool you use, but it's not the tool. The tool you use is your brain, right? The tool you use is your experience, your worldview, your point of view. The things AI can't replicate just yet.
Right, and currently AI is a very hot topic and supposedly it's going to revolutionize everything, but we do go through cycles where people rebel against certain things. I see a lot of young people at bus stops reading paperbacks.
Yeah.
And so I haven't seen that in a long time, and I know there's been a thought that we aren't reading anymore, but I see a lot of people with paperbacks that are much younger, and so sometimes we go through these phases where we don't want the old established thing, right. So we don't know.
Well, vinyl came back. I mean, vinyl outsold CDs for the past chunk of years, you know, and record store day to me is like, wow, that's beautiful, you know, as a music lover, even though I do not have an extensive vinyl collection, I have mad respect for those who do. And I think part of it too, and the metaphor I think is applicable, like when you go to someone's house and they put on a vinyl, they keep on the vinyl. It's you don't bounce around from song to song to song. It's like you put on the A side of one of your favorite albums and you let it play. And there's something to be said about that. And I think like AI is a little bit more like, I don't know, the playlist, you know, the infinite playlist, I think was that name of that one show. Nora's Infinite Playlist, I think it was called, something like that. But I think the writer is the one that's going to come up with the A side and the B side, the whole album, as opposed to just maybe part of a catchy track.